Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday, June 1st, and it's 9:30 in the morning. And there seems to be a bicycle race here. I'm at Nyamiga. So, I don't know. There's a stage put up over here. Maybe that was from something some days ago. I have no idea. Whole street is closed off here. There's some sort of tents over there. I don't know. Let's just do some walking and see what's going on here. And I'll do some news as well. Let you guys know. Let's see, I don't know, a lot of spectators. Davai, davai, davai! I hear a lot of davai, davai, davai. So, where am I at here? Okay, Pete Hegseth. He is in Singapore at the moment. Well, he was yesterday anyway. And there's some talk about well, let's see, maybe I don't want to walk through a bunch of people. Some police over there. Anyway, it's a big security meeting. There's a few of these things going on. There's one in the Black Sea. It's going on. I'll get to that in a moment. But Pete Hegseth, a lot of people were there, and a huge amount of people. He was up on stage answering questions. And do you remember just yesterday I put out that the UK admitted that they will increase covert attacks on China and Russia, specifically the cyber sabotage. Hello? Oh, maybe I'm not supposed to do this. Hang on a second. Okay, did I put it on pause? Okay, the police just wanted to check my bag, I guess. These guys over there. Okay, what was I saying? Okay, well, the UK has admitted that they're going to continue doing cyber attacks on Russia and China, and they're going to increase them. And we already know. I mean, think about this. It's just cyber attacks, but they are also doing all kinds of other attacks. Remember, they were involved in the sabotage and the attacks on the bridge, the Kerch Bridge in Crimea. So, let's see. Yeah, and that's been proven, of course. Naval drones planning the execution of those attacks, and so on and so forth. Okay. I don't know what this is. There's something down this way. I wonder if this is part of that bicycle thing. I don't know if I'm allowed to go there. Well, anyway, like I said, I didn't even know anything was going on here, so. Okay. But what else happened there? That Pete Hegseth, he's admitted saying, we will not instigate, which is a lie, we will not instigate or seek to subjugate or humiliate. Oh, I guess I gotta put it on pause. Well, I had to put it on pause because there's music playing, and as you know, if YouTube cannot make money off of music, they don't want you to play it on here. It's not like, I think Rumble and a lot of other places let you do that, and YouTube always starts screaming copyright or something, which is all a bunch of BS, as you all know. It's they have their deals with other people about music and all that. It's a whole big scam. You guys know that. So anyway, let's see what else. Oh, slender lady, probably a jogger. Don't have any idea what's going on over here. Let's see. I don't even know what this is all about. I'm guessing this just has something to do with the bicycles as well. Okay. So let's get back. It's going to take a while, this video, I guess. Thought somebody was coming. So he says, we will not instigate nor seek to subjugate or humiliate We'll show peace through strength, seen and unseen, overt and covert. You know, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? So it means, in other words, we will overtly provoke and covertly sabotage. That's what it means. That's exactly what it is. So should I read that again? We'll show peace through strength, seen and unseen, overt and covert. So what does that mean? Obvious. In other words, they're going to provoke, I think it's mostly talking about China. We will provoke China, but of course they mean the United States and virtually anybody. So, provoke and sabotage, and that's exactly what the UK just said as well with their cyber activities. So I wonder what the heck this is all about, this whole thing. Iron Star, it's all over the place. But hardly anybody here at the moment. I guess it's kind of too early. Like I said, it was like around 9:30 or something, so. Okay, as we know, Russia has had hypersonic missiles for many years now, and they've already deployed them, and of course they've got, what do they say, advanced. They even advanced them beyond just having hypersonic missiles, and they got them that are maneuverable. The United States, I don't think they have any missiles that are maneuverable. Some countries have, but not the United States. So the United States, I don't know if they even admit it, but they're behind in missile technology against maybe various other countries in the world. And so what else? But there's no defense against the Russians, especially when you talk about these Orishnik and even the Iskanders. They can go through anything. I think they're not detectable, and they zigzag and they do everything. And nobody can actually defend themselves yet against those. And the United States, let's see, well, Trump has an obsession to do this, and he says, Russia stole the technology. Yeah, right? I mean, that's too ridiculous to even be mentioning. Okay, so, let's see. China has hypersonic as well. Who knows how more advanced they are as well? I mean, China is not something to be sneezing at. And Trump has told the Pentagon to expedite. So the Pentagon has allotted $1 billion to, oh gosh, what is it? Can't remember which company. Did I even write it down? It wasn't Raytheon. I don't know. Some company. They've allotted $1 billion to develop hypersonic missiles. So let's see. Okay, and they want to be able to hit any target on planet Earth within 1 hour. So good luck on that one. I don't know. Maybe Russia's are already that capable. Russia has missiles where they can have them in the air for, I think, maybe even days, at least hours, just floating around, going in different directions, and then go in and hit the target. I don't really know exactly the extent. I've just heard about things like that. So the EU and the UK are in a debate whether to give nukes to Ukraine, which of course that's not going to happen. You know, but they're talking about it. And this Black Sea, what is it called? Security thing. I'll get to that name. Black Sea Security. I think I wrote it down here. What it's called. So let's see. But anyway, also at this time, I guess there's some big contest right now to see who can be the meanest and the toughest against Russia. Who can threaten Russia more than anybody? And I guess it's Merz. You know, he's the guy right now. He's in the spotlights, as you guys already. Oh gosh, more music. I didn't even notice it. Well, you start hearing this music, and I don't know. I'm wondering if the sound is going to be blocked on this video completely, or if they're going to blot out certain parts of it. I don't know how YouTube actually does that. You know, like I said, they want to make money on the music. So a lot of time, I don't know. Maybe this is music that is not. I don't know. Maybe it's. I don't know what they call that kind of music. You know, kind of junk music or something that. Done by some sort of people sitting in a room and making some sort of music that aren't really even musicians. I don't know. So I'm hoping that that's what that is, and I won't get blacked out or whatever. So anyhow, so Merz is the guy right now. He's the guy that's coming up with the most threats against Russia, trying to be the big tough guy. You know, but you got the usual ones, and oftentimes it's it's Poland and it's the Baltic states, you know, the Chihuahua states, and you know, like, you better not come here. We're going to tear your leg off, us little Chihuahuas. You know, we'll start on your pant leg and then we're going to start working up. And then, of course, Poland, of course, you know, they're really trying to expand their military. Their dream was to be bigger than Germany, and now Germany is saying, no, we want to stay the biggest. But I don't know. These countries, I think a lot of the money from that Poland has is coming from mostly Germany, and I don't know. I really don't know what these people are talking about, but it looks like at the time being they're hopeless. They're hopeless in being able to expand all of this. Their dreams of attacking Russia, building a military, and becoming the dominant masters of the European universe, or whatever. Trump wants to be the master of the universe. I don't know. These people are all real hegemonious. So, but of course the whole idea is, you know, when they look for these people that hate Russia. I'm not saying that Trump hates Russia necessarily. It's kind of a fluke that Trump got in. I guess he was there, obviously, for the behest of Israel. And Israel is kind of like, you know, they're not so much enemies. Russia and Israel, you know, they kind of coexist to a certain extent peacefully. But, oh, come some police coming. I hope it's not. They're coming for me. But anyway, it's, what else was I going to say? Yeah, but anyway, these other people, of course, you can't get into power unless you hate Russia. So, okay, let's see, where am I at here? Talked about the nukes. Okay, yeah, Merz. You have to always remember Merz. He was the guy that brought BlackRock into Germany big time, really big. And of course, even at that time, Germany's economy was already starting to fail, and of course that helps a lot more to help it fail. So Merz, I guess he's one of the ones behind all that. So just so you would know that. And of course, it's kind of like people from Goldman Sachs, or probably even from BlackRock. You know, once you're in, you're always in. So he's obviously still working for BlackRock. You have to guess from that. And he wants to send Taurus, and then he didn't want to send the Taurus, and then he did and didn't. He keeps going back and forth as some people do, flip-flopping, I guess you'd call that. And anyway, looks like it's going to happen. Definitely going to happen, because apparently there's no limit on the range anymore. You can send missiles that go all the way to Vladivostok if you want. So, okay, Macron right now, he's also part of the, in the contest of hating Russia, but he's got his hands full at the very moment because they got some big protests at the moment. It's like, Paris, it's like, somebody wrote that it's 153 years they've had constant protests in Paris. I don't know if that's true, but it's almost like a war zone all the time. If you see the footage, and it makes you really wonder how much does it cost France to do this? And of course, it's normally based on whatever France does that causes people to protest. But this is a weird one, because I think it's some French team. I'm not into soccer or whatever, but I think it's soccer, and they won, and then they're rioting, big huge riots, and they have one of them. It was like some Foot Locker, and people were filming that. They're, I hate to say this, but mostly black people, and they're kicking on the windows until the windows shatter. And then people going in, flooding in there and stealing all kinds of shoes. The big deal is to get the nicest tennis shoes. I don't know if you know why. You ought to see mine. Not impressive at all. What do they call that on The Simpsons? Assassins. When Homer Simpson got his assassins. His tennis shoes. Okay. And who else didn't I talk about yet? Keir Starmer. He's still working on his damage control. Macron is in the middle of his right now because of these riots, and Keir Starmer he's in the middle of his damage control, or well into it, because of what do they call it? The bum boys. These 3 Ukrainian bum boys that were suggested to him by Zelensky. And it makes you wonder. Well, I don't know if they use the word top and bottom, or I have no idea if I know what the heck that means, but I should look that up. Being a little ignorant, I guess. But in any case, I don't really know, because when you have two men engaged in some sort of activity like that together, it's sort of, maybe they switch off. I have no idea. Maybe we have to ask Macron and his wife, or maybe he is the wife. I don't know. Maybe his husband. Anyway, the one that slapped him the other day. Find out what that's all about. Okay. Okay, so that's mostly about those guys, the bum boys and all of their friends and everything. A German blogger, he went to Ukraine, you know, to see how things are over there. He went to the Kharkov region. Remember, that's where Gonzalo Lira was from. You know, the guy I'd met in the later months of his life before they came and raided him and took him in, and they took his phone and all that. And then I lost contact with him. It was like WhatsApp and all that. Very light contact, unfortunately. And then I started getting these things about investing and crypto. I don't know. Anyway, they're trying to scam me. It was the guards. They took his phone and his devices, and they were trying to scam like people to get money from them. And because I was thinking it was him, and I deleted it. I'm thinking, what the heck, Gonzalo Lira? What the heck are you doing this for? I'm thinking, oh, maybe this isn't even Gonzalo. It turned out it wasn't, but originally it was. So, because that's what we were talking about. She's terrible. And I didn't know it at the time, that they raided him and took his place and took him. Okay. So anyway, this guy went to Kharkiv, and he said lots and lots of Teslas. Of course, there's huge amounts of, everybody knows there's billions and billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars flooding into Ukraine. And most of that is not going to the weapons, obviously. It's not going to the weapons. And some pays the pensions, you know, of the Ukrainian people, because Ukraine can't pay them. Ukraine is still making money too, but most of that money is, of course, coming from overseas. It's coming from the European Union. It's coming from Germany. It's coming a lot. Most of that was from the United States. Donald Trump was saying 335 billion, but some people say it's 167 billion. I have no idea, to be honest with you. And of course the European Union, and now they're sending billions, guaranteed billions all the time to Ukraine. And you know, they get less and less people because everybody's leaving the place. So they have less need for all this money. So anyway, and of course, even most of these weapons, they get sold out everywhere. And I told you a lot about a lot of things going on there. Drugs, huge amounts of drug deals and things like that through Ukraine. And then there's organs. Everybody knows about that. Children trafficking, weapons trafficking, everything. They sell everything. It's turning up all over the world, and everybody knows that. But anyway, this guy, he was there, and he said there's a lot of Teslas around. You see a lot of Mercedes, BMWs, Porsches. He was just walking around and showing, oh, here's a Porsche. Oh, here's another Tesla. Oh, and another Tesla over here. Teslas and Porsches and Mercedes and things. That's mostly what people have as cars there. You don't really see that many cheap ones, at least in the area where this guy was walking. His name wasn't given because it's probably they don't want to put his name there. Okay, I understand that. Trump continues to threaten Iran. Someone may have paid the IAEA, because the IAEA said that, you know, it's really weird because in all this time they didn't say anything and everything was hunky-dory. And now all of a sudden, you know, I kind of sense Israel is involved in this, but all of a sudden, oh, they have more, what do they call it, enriched uranium than we originally thought. And it's at 60% or something. It's near weapons grade uranium, you know. And of course that prompted Netanyahu to come out and say, see, I told you, see, the world community has to go and attack Iran. We have to stop them right away. But of course Netanyahu, as you all know, he's been talking about that since the 1980s. Iran is 1 month away. You know, he said 2 weeks at one time, 2 weeks away from having a nuclear bomb. We have to act now. Well, I guess he changes all the time. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, sometimes it's 2 months. I have no idea. But now it's 2 months again, probably, or 2 weeks. I have no idea. The guy has got a real big problem, and I would think that most of the world knows about it right now. I don't know, maybe you wait, you got to cool it down for a few years until a whole bunch of new politicians come in, maybe 5 or 6 years, and a lot of them, you know, weren't there when he was crying wolf over and over and over again, and then, you know, wait 5 years, don't say anything, and then a bunch of new ones come in, and then start to cry wolf again, and then maybe you'll have some luck then, and people start to kind of, or not start to, they will believe you at that time. Some already do. And of course, going around, you know, probably like Lindsey Graham, you know, he'd be happy to go around for years saying Iran is 2 weeks away from having a nuclear bomb. I'm sure he would. You know, Lindsey Graham, there has never been a war that he didn't want to be associated with. So, and along with that, what else? Netanyahu. Okay, that's part of that. I wrote it down. I have to react now. The president of Georgia, Kavaishvili, says that the West was heavily, you guys know this stuff. They were heavily pressuring him to start a second front against Russia soon after the special military operation started. And the U.S. NGOs were pouring, he said, huge amounts of money into Georgia for that. And of course, we all know that, but they make it look like the European Union is spearheading it, but of course it's with U.S. money for the most part. And of course, what I mean by these NGOs, I've talked about them already, like they have them here in Belarus, and a lot of time that means U.S. aid, and a lot of that money is going to the, a lot of that money is going to like U.S. aid and Voice of America, things like that, and you know, for propaganda purposes, and in those countries such as Georgia and Kazakhstan, I know for sure, Belarus, and I've heard mentioned in other places too, you know, they have, and I think it's sponsored by USAID, and they have these groups that are sponsored, and they rent places, I guess. I don't know if they own them. They rent them, I suppose, but they have meeting places where they teach people how to protest, how to make signs, and how to incite other people, you know, to try to protest, you know, for color revolutions to overthrow the governments, like they did that in Belarus. I think they got rid of them in Belarus. I don't know that they got rid of them in Kazakhstan. Maybe they did after that last one. I think it was just a couple of years ago when these people were organizing together and trying to overthrow the government. And I'm sure they probably are at least still in the process of getting rid of them in Georgia. And of course, there's a lot of them probably in Moldova and Serbia, Slovakia, I've heard, and it's not been reported on any news, but I was talking to somebody that is involved with, oh, fish jumped over here, that's involved with groups, I mean, here in Belarus. Maybe I'll catch it again, it just moved again. Woo. So anyway, they're involved in, oh wow, it's a big one. Whoa, looks like a carp, I think. 2 of them. If you guys see that. Anyway, so where was I at here? Only talking about, yeah, there's this lady. She's not from Belarus, and she's not from Slovakia, but she knows about that. She's involved with this group that maybe they went the wrong way, this lady here. But anyhow, they're talking about there's a lot of money going into that for these revolutions, trying to overthrow, you know, getting like a color revolution from protests, just like they did in Ukraine, like the Maidan, to overthrow the government of Slovakia because he is not anti-Russia. And it's not that you're pro-Russia. It's just like none of these people are necessarily pro-Russia. They are just not anti-Russia. But you are not allowed to be the leader unless you hate Russia. How many times do I have to say that? I mean, you guys all know that. I'm just trying to be emphatic about it. But you have to hate Russia, or you will not be allowed to be in leadership in Europe. And everybody around you, everybody, the whole government, everything running the country, it has to be hate Russia, or they will come after you. So, I mean, and oh, what is that? There's no kind of conspiracy going on here. I mean, what is the word? What's the definition of conspiracy? Well, that's a conspiracy. That's a friggin' conspiracy. You know, but then if you say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, well, I'm more than a theorist. I'll tell you what, I'm a truth activist, and that is a conspiracy. So, obviously. Okay, so they wanted a second front, and yeah, okay. Anyway, that's not much more to say about that. The mayor of Kursk has stated many civilians taken by the Ukraine, they still remain missing. There's 576 still remaining missing. And they said they had listed, at least, there's 2,287 that were taken. 304 were killed. So of the 2,287, 1,290 have been accounted for, dead or returned back. And of course, there's still the 576 that are unaccounted for. And of course, that includes children. Some children have also been disappeared. And they've also found some, maybe the ones what they talk about that are accounted for. They've found mass graves where they had buried them. And then, of course, I don't know if they've gone through all of the houses yet, and going through there and looking in the basements where there's like people tied up and they starved them to death. Sometimes they tied them up, threw them in the basement, and then threw grenades in there. Maybe a lot of them died. I don't know. Lots more atrocities. I talked about some of the atrocities yesterday, but it's a lot of them. That one where they shoved a child's head into a fire, screaming until he probably couldn't scream and it was all melted, and terrible. Kill a child that way and then sit around laughing probably at it. A lot of stuff like this. Yes. But of course the West says it's fine. It's perfectly fine. Okay. There are witnesses, there are evidence, and the United Nations says, get out of here, we don't want to see this stuff, we don't want to hear about it, you're wasting our time. In other words, all of these crimes, it's perfectly fine. Nothing is ever going to happen, at least according to the United Nations, or probably the World Court, because it's a hate Russia court. Everything is hate Russia. So everything Russia either has to take justice into their own hands, or it's never going to be met out. These people will all get away with whatever the heck they did. Anything, any kind of crimes against humanity, it's all perfectly fine with the West. It's just like banning Russia from any kind of athletic activities, all kinds of stuff, or even cultural activities. Anyway, but then you have to promote something like the Ukraine and Israel to always win in the Eurovision song contests and things like that. It's absolutely incredible. And make sure that Russia loses. Of course, Russia's out of it now. They kick them out. They kick them out of everything. So, okay. That meeting I was telling you about, it was called the Black Sea Security Forum. That's where the UK is saying that some of them, their representatives, that they should very much consider giving nuclear weapons to Ukraine. So the UK said that. Along with this, it's also now been put out that the Patriots that are coming from the US and given to Ukraine, and the F-16s, are now being wired into something called Link 16, a system that feeds NATO information into them in real time. So they're fully integrated, or getting to be, at least right now, fully integrated into NATO. So much for Ukraine not being allowed into NATO. So in other words, Ukraine is going into NATO in all but the paperwork. So that's what it is. Everything is going to Ukraine. They're fully involved in that right now.
Отходим,
спортсмены. Here?
Вода.
Yes, Tom. The lady telling me to go towards the bench, the actually wrong way, and I should have been where I was right, because sports people are running here. So anyway. Okay, hardly anybody coming here. Maybe not many people joined for this thing, jogging thing or running thing. My days are past with that. I know a guy my age. He wins the event for our age group nearly every single time, no matter where he goes, even Kiev, and he loves Ukraine. Kind of crazy guy. So, no big deal. So, what else? So, anyway, not only are they electronically connected to NATO in that way, as you know, Starlink, Elon Musk Starlink, they're connected to Starlink, and they also have other electronic means that they are connected to the United States. The United States gives intelligence, electronic intelligence to Ukraine, and tells them where the Russian troops are located, for bombing and all that. Along with that, also, the Americans are also manning the Patriot systems that Ukraine has, as well as ATACMS, and they are also involved. I guess Ukraine gets to pick the targets, and the United States just executes it. So when Ukraine says they want to bomb a certain apartment building, I guess the United States goes right along with that. Russia doesn't want to talk about that because, you know, they're trying to talk about some sort of a kind of a peace agreements now with the United States, so they're not going to be saying that the United States is heavily involved in that sort of thing as well. So, okay, what else now? Oh, let's get more into that stuff too. Okay, Pompeo, the old CIA guy under Donald Trump. You know, the guy, he doesn't even look like the old Pompeo. He lost a lot of weight. He doesn't look the same at all. But anyway, he was at the Black Sea Forum as well. And he's the same guy that said, we lie, we cheat, we steal. I don't know if he said kill. I think he might have said, we lie, we cheat, we steal, we kill, because they do a lot of killing as well, the CIA. And he laughing about it, thinks that's pretty funny. And he's also the guy, remember, Pompeo, Mike Pompeo, he got together with old Poroshenko during those days. And Poroshenko, the leader of Ukraine, and they established that fake church. They got some guy, probably bribed him very well somewhere in Istanbul, you know, church-minded, wise. You can call it Constantinople. And so they created, probably with a lot of this stuff to grease the skids, they created a fake church, a fake Orthodox church. What do they call that? The Orthodox Church of Ukraine. I'm getting them mixed up now. The Ukrainian Orthodox. Anyway, it's a play on words to make everybody think it's like the other one. But of course, they honor symbols from, instead of crosses or whatever, they honor tridents, like the Ukrainian trident and stuff like that. Some really crazy stuff anyway. And they kicked out and jailed and even killed. I was going to say that. I told you guys that nobody really wanted me, I guess, to be interviewing there was a priest that was in Ukraine, and he was there, and he said that at times what they did is when these people were protesting about the takeover of the church, when the government of Ukraine was taking over that church, that they would, at one time, you know, all these protesters, they took 5 of them, like a random 5, they took them off to the side and shot and killed all 5 of them, you know, so that the other ones would all go home and get out of there. So that was the whole idea, to get them out. And he said he saw that. I don't know if anybody really talks about that, but he witnessed it with his own eyes. So he said it's really terrible, and a lot of other atrocities as well. But I don't know, nobody, I put it out to you guys to say if you wanted me to interview this guy. I'd need a translator. But anyway, so I didn't do that. And but he's now in Belarus, by the way. So a lot of things, like there's this Tomasz Schmidt. He was a judge in Poland, and now he's also spilling a lot of crap what Poland was doing, maybe about killing refugees, things like that. Well, somebody was running here. I'll say so. What else? He also said that the USA cannot walk away from Ukraine, and he elucidated that the West has to totally destroy Russia, because Russia's philosophy of geopolitics, for the most part, is contra to that of the West. You guys are probably looking at all the figures of some of these women and everything walking by here, but I guess, you know, when you go around to this place, it's a lot more younger people in Nyamiga, and of course it's a weekend, and normally times when I go out and I record, it's during the weekdays, and these people are probably all working, and it's not in the younger or the places where the younger people hang out. So, but up here, there's a place where they sit around. Yeah, it's right up there. There's benches and all that, I think. Maybe even on school days, and I've even been there, and it's all pretty much only young people, but they're quite young people. They're like school age. I don't know, maybe 15 to 17, 18, I don't know. Okay, let's keep going. So Pompeo said Russia has to be completely destroyed, and he was even quoting places like Venezuela, that Russia has military presence, probably very small, in Venezuela or anywhere. So he's really, really hardline anti-Russia. He wants them completely destroyed so that they have no... I mean, but you think about Pompeo. He will say the same thing about China. He'll say it any country that becomes powerful. And the United States has a doctrine like that anyway. That's probably part of this full spectrum dominance to make sure that they stay the masters of the universe, that they have to be more powerful and get rid of any country that can possibly prevent or present themselves as any threat to America's hegemony. So in other words, we will remain that way, and anybody that looks like they're even coming close, we're going to destroy you. You know, but they didn't really, I don't know, they made a mistake. You know, they destroyed the relationship between Germany and Russia because they were really scared of that. They admitted it. You got the energy coming from Russia, and you got the productive, what do you call it, capacity or potential of even vastly expanding, and Germany was on the move. Germany was getting really powerful, so they had to split those two apart. But they weren't thinking that Russia could possibly have a good... As a matter of fact, they even said this, and I know this for a fact. They said that there's not going to be don't worry about any relationship between China and Russia, because they're kind of too much of enemies and they will never make friends, so we don't have anything to worry about them two getting together. But lo and behold, look at this. Now they're really best of friends. Trump is trying to figure out ways, how are we going to split Russia apart from China? Because they, and I think he's even admitted at times himself, or people in his administration, they created an even bigger monster, a much, much bigger monster than the relationship between Germany and Russia. So the biggest monster is the worst they could possibly ever imagine on planet Earth is a joining of China and Russia. And that's exactly what they got. And in some ways, they're even like one country. They get together so well. I mean, so powerful. Oh, morning. She speaks English. Wow. Anyway, okay. Let's see here. I listed anyway. Well, he's only other thing he said is it'll be a threat to the United States everywhere on Earth unless they destroy Russia completely. So anyway, it's now revealed the Kursk offensive invasion by Ukraine had heavy involvement. This is just the Kursk invasion. This is just that last one. It had heavy involvement from the UK. Of course, we all knew that, but we didn't know to what extent. And it's been turned out that they were training these soldiers in the UK and other countries over in the West, like the Baltics and all. They were training them for 6 months. And I'm sure that a US money went into that as well. But the whole thing was this incursion into Kursk. And of course, they had Colombians, a lot of Poles, they had British, and they had French. And probably there are definitely some from the Baltics. Of course, they never want to be left out. They want to always send soldiers to any chance they get, they say, anyway, to go fight and kill Russians. They would do it, they said. And they lost 76,000 people. And as a matter of fact, I'll tell you what, they're still going. They're still trying to get in. It's absolutely incredible. Still trying to go in. Wow. So let's see. Okay, there's a big argument. I'm getting to the end here, by the way. Yes, just to the end. There's a big argument between Klitschko, who was the boxer, and he was a famous boxer for Ukraine. He's the mayor now of Kiev, and of course he's a celebrity because of his boxing. And Zelensky. So these two are arguing right now. And Klitschko, at one time, he was saying that he was worried about Ukraine turning into what does he call it, authoritarian country, you know, with no democracy and all that. He said it's but anyway, now he says it stinks of authoritarianism. So, and he even came out and said himself that Zelensky cannot really go after him because of his celebrity status. So, you know, you can also wonder if something bad could happen to you. Something bad could happen to you, Klitschko. So, makes you wonder. So don't even don't think that that can't happen. I'll even forget that I put that out if something like this happens. I've already noticed that I said some things in my videos and they came to pass, and I even forgot about them. But that's just how these people operate. You know, his brakes will go out in his car, some terrorist from somewhere, you know, like they were trying to do on Trump, and they do it to everybody. Just some wild, crazed person, you know, that was maybe incited, given weapons, and somebody on the inside was paid to let this guy get through security and things like that. Probably on Trump, that was probably the case. It happens all the time. So, you know, a lot of people, you know, they have their price. You pay them enough. There's a lot of people in Russia trying to attack Russia, sending off drones. They're getting paid by Ukraine, the SBU, and to plant explosives and all that. And Russia is getting somebody probably nearly every week. They're catching people that the SBU, the intelligence of Ukraine, is inciting to try to, you know, do bombing attacks on Russia. So anyway, in line with that, as you guys might have heard, there was a bridge collapsed in Bryansk region, part of Russia, you know, across the border from Ukraine. Isn't that strange? That's one of the regions that Ukraine says belongs to Ukraine, you know, that has been coming out lately. I mean, Russia probably knew about this already, but now, you know, there's these documents surfacing that Ukraine, in the future, they were going to claim a huge portions of Russia, say that these are Ukrainian areas. And of course, the real area of Ukraine is actually really small, and it's even beyond the side, beyond Kiev. Kiev is Russian, so you have to go even further west. It's a very, very small area that is really a Ukrainian area, which was never a country. You know, it was for like 1 year, I think, in 1918, but it was a region, part of Russia, and it was always, 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 always a part of Russia. It was never, ever, ever a country, never in all of history, as much as they claim that it was. It's just all a bunch of fake history, you know, and they put out fake textbooks. I mean, how many times? I mean, a lot of people have been talking about that. All kinds of fake information, fake, 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 fake. Most of it is directed against their own people so that they all believe it, and they will all go right along with that, you know, and pick up a gun and go get themselves killed in a meat grinder for all that sort of a thing. So that's what that's all about. And okay, but anyway, this attack in Bryansk, it was a overpass bridge, and underneath apparently was a train going, and just so happens that right when that train was going underneath, the bridge collapsed and there was some big trucks. Obviously, I'll tell you what was happening. Somebody there set it off. They were waiting for these big trucks to go by, and they set this bomb off. Well, I didn't even tell you that it was a bomb yet. They're trying to, they're investigating this, but of course some people are already farther along with that, and they said it was a bomb. They don't know. They're assuming it was Ukraine, and it probably was. So Ukraine is doing this kind of things all over. Somebody got away with it. Somebody probably planted some bombs somewhere, and they blew the bridge exactly when a train was going underneath and some heavy trucks were on top of it. Trucks fell down, and so far, first they reported 3 dead, and then it was 7 because some have died, and then some other ones are going to die, and there was 70 injured. So who knows how many of those people are going to make it or not going to make it. And the videos are kind of horrific. People screaming, lots of children screaming. Obviously children died, you know, because that's what they really like to do anyway. It's you know, in Israel and Ukraine, that's Nazis love to kill children. It's all about genocide anyway, these people. And they really love to do that sort of thing, especially when children. It makes them very, very happy. I mean, that's even in their doctrine, and they even admit it. So that's just so you guys know that stuff. You already know all that stuff anyway, especially Israel. And a lot of people are getting really sick. I think Spain has now also gone against Israel, and France has already gone against. A lot of people are. People all over the world, there's protests and things like that. People are just tired of, just sick of seeing dead kids all over. And Israel purposefully blowing up and bombing places that have children in it more than anything. They say it's to get terrorists, you know. A lot of time they never find any terrorists there. You know, on and on and on. So, but that's the state of the world today. And maybe the only other thing I would want to say is that Khomeini, the leader of Iran, the spiritual leader of Iran, is also talking that the United States is going to be in for a big rude awakening if Donald Trump is going to bomb the nuclear power plants, which of course Donald Trump has threatened to do. You know, the peace president So if they don't stop enriching uranium, there's no talk, no evidence of a bomb. Now they have somebody probably paid a huge sum of money. I can bet that it was a lot of money from the IAEA, probably to say, oh, that they are enriching, and it's what is it, up to 60%? I don't even know what percentage you have to enrich to be, for it to be weapons grade. And I don't know. I think there's different ways, and I don't think that uranium that they are enriching can be used for weapons, and it's probably not, but they're going to find a way to make everybody believe that it can. And so Iran is the bad guy. Even if they have no nuclear weapons, they don't have a nuclear weapon program. Nobody can say that they do, and nobody can prove it. I don't know. Seems like you can have this stuff covertly. Israel did it covertly for a long time, as Jonathan Pollard, as you know, was stealing lots of information. He's a big hero in Israel, and he's still in prison in the United States, and they keep begging to let him out. And he stole huge amounts. You can't even fit it in the back of a semi-truck how much information that guy stole from the United States. And it's almost like it makes you wonder, did the United States even know that? I'm sure a lot of people just look the other way, but that's how that is. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now. And what is this? It's 46 minutes. Probably still take, who knows? Yesterday I was uploading and they stopped it. It was almost done, like an hour and a half, and then they stopped it and started to start all over again. So let's see what happens this time. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.